Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. I tell you, it's your business to understand the various types of businesses out there, from mid-market to enterprise levels. Most of us are pretty intimately familiar with our small businesses. We got little shops we go to and people we know who are in those companies. But there's a certain elusiveness, particularly about the enterprise levels and kind of a vagueness about mid-market. There's the mega-sized companies, the enterprise-level companies, they get huge amounts of ink just because they're huge. And small businesses, again, are roughly are mainly the backbone, economic backbone of our country. But what about those mid-market? And on this segment, we're going to talk to Michael Schwerdtfeger, and he is with a company called the MBS Mergers. The website is MBS. Actually, it's Chapman Associates Merger and Acquisitions, but the website is mbsmergers.com. And Michael, I'm delighted to have you on the program. Glad we could talk about this. Talk about your company, and then let's talk a little bit about specifically the differences between the needs of the mid and enterprise level companies.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate you having me on, and be happy to do that. So Chapman Associates is a middle market mergers and acquisitions advisory company, and really what that means is we sell companies, and for the most part we specialize in companies that I will call are in the lower middle market, which really for us means companies that have revenues anywhere between $5 or $10 million on the low end to $100 or more million on the high end. We help companies go through the entire process of selling those companies, from preparing them to get ready for selling, to finding appropriate partners, to getting the transactions done.
Okay, very good. Tell me a little bit, let's talk again about the difference in the needs. Obviously, the big difference is in size of revenue between enterprise and mid-market companies, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and so you're talking, typically there's a little bit of vagueness of where, a mid-market begins, but usually when you say around 30 million annual revenue?
I think there's a variety of definitions, Kevin. I've seen definitions that range anywhere from $5 million to $3 billion. I tend to consider it kind of in the 10 to 100 million is sort of the range we deal with. Above that, you're starting it in the companies that have pretty significant resources. So I think there's a lot less difference between those companies and I think the companies you're calling enterprise level companies.
And you mentioned that you began at around, on the lower level in terms of the mid-market companies. Kind of tell me your sweet spot.
Yeah, our sweet spot is companies that have a deal size of anywhere between $5 and $10 million on the low end to $100 million or so on the high end.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about the needs. What are the needs differences, if you will, between the two? The mid-market and the enterprise.
I think it's really a matter of depth at the end of the day, Kevin. In a middle market company, what you typically have, most of the clients that we deal with are entrepreneur founder type of folks that started a company out of some sort of expertise that they've had. Whether it's a manufacturing or service expertise, and they grow that business phenomenally well. But they tend to not have a lot of depth in their management team, in their processes, in sort of the systems that they have internally. So I think for the most part, the needs are really to try to grow that company from that entrepreneurial level company to a more institutionalized company and make that jump of adding depth to the company. I mean, I think at a very high level, depth, I think, is the real issue.
Okay, and your specific work is to help facilitate mergers and acquisitions.
That's right. Yes. I started as a transaction lawyer for Fortune 500 companies and did that type of work. Most recently with Houston's Kinder Morgan, and then moved over to do deal work from a slightly different perspective. I still maintain my law degree. I act as an intermediary at this point, putting deals together.
Yeah, very good, very good. What do you see in terms of activity in 2015?
There's a lot. A lot of cash on the sidelines, a lot of capital available for doing transactions. There's just coming out of the recession. It took a little while before the deal cycle moved forward, but at this point, it's a very active market.
How many deals does your office typically do annually?
We tend to do in the 10 to 20 deal range per year.
Wow, that's pretty significant.
Yeah, well, when I say my office, we have a variety of managing directors around the country. Chapman is a nationwide merger and acquisition firm, and I've got partners around the country. Yeah,
very good, very good. Kind of explain exactly how that works in terms of Chapman and Associates. So, is it almost like a licensing agreement to represent them, or how does that look from a business perspective?
You mean for me with Chapman Associates?
Yeah, with you in relationship to Chapman Associates.
Yeah, I'm a managing director with Chapman Associates, so we are all work together to facilitate deals around the country with a variety of customers, or variety of clients. For the most part, we tend to work independently, but we have a lot of depth and across a variety of industry groups.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are most of your specific deals in your region, the California region?
Yes and no. I would say about 3/4 of my transactions are here locally, but in either Southern or Northern California. But the other 25 to 30% tend to be around the country.
Yeah. So you're not tied geographically to.
No. We like I said, we have a nationwide coverage, so we tend to work together on deals where it makes sense to do them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it makes sense for the listener to learn more about it. I encourage people to check out the website. Again, would the best one be mbsmergers.com?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of information on that, or also www.chapman-usa.com.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it simple. mbsmergers.com. And I find the more information they give, the less likely they are to use it. So, and then when you get there, there's a great download there. It looks like a monograph or a booklet, The Inner Workings of a Deal. Talk about that real quick.
Yes, I had an article series not too long ago that I decided to put into an ebook, and it really guides entrepreneurs, company owners, sort of through the whole process of doing a transaction, anywhere from sort of thinking about what you need to do to get ready for doing a transaction, to picking an advisor for the transaction, to kind of walking through what the deal process looks like. It's pretty complicated, and for the most part, the kinds of clients that we deal with, these the mid-market sort of companies, the owners of them tend to do one or maybe two transactions in their lifetimes. Mm-hmm. So it was really meant as a way to give people some background as to what a deal looks like and what they're in for.
It looks great. I encourage people
some sort of transaction.
I encourage people to learn more about it. It looks great, Michael, and this conversation's been great. And I want to encourage again the listeners to check out mbsmergers.com. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Kevin.
You bet. Do want to remind a listener, the best content here shows up over there at usdailyreview.com. And you have been listening to The Price of Business. More tomorrow on this great station.